Full Core Scootering is brought to you by Pro Scooter Parts, your rider-owned online retailer located in Cambridge, Cambridgeshire, UK. You can save yourself 10% off by using code FULLCORE at checkout. That's FULLCORE, all caps, at checkout for 10% off. The link will be in the description below, and you can save yourself a little bit of dough when you shop with Pro Scooter Parts. Welcome back to Full Core Scootering. Today we're doing a review on the Aztek Lucid deck. The good people over at Utah Pro Scooters let me take this off their hands. We did a little bit of a trade, a deck for a deck. So we traded one of our full core decks for one of the decks that they carry, and so that I could do a review for it. So let's get into this video. I have not ridden a Aztek Lucid deck yet. I've been wanting to for a long time now. The last Aztek deck that I have ridden was the Siren V2, and I really enjoyed that deck, but that deck wasn't truly a 6-wide deck. It was 6 on top, but it tapered really like a lot on the sides, and it was 5.5 on the bottom. So this deck is a true 6-wide, and I am excited to try it. I almost don't want to try it because it's such a beautiful deck. I almost just want to hang it up and keep it pretty forever. But no, that's not what we're doing. So we'll get into the specs of this here deck. So, starting at the front, 84-degree head tube angle, which I'm super excited to try because I have not ridden a 84-degree head tube angle since the Jonathan Peroni AOSV5 deck that I rode a couple years ago. I have a review on that if you want to check it out. This deck is the 6x23, and it's the, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's the silver one. There's a specific name for it, and I don't remember what it's called. But yeah, it's a silver one, and then they have a black one as well. And you can get these decks in 5.5 and 6, and both sizes come in 22 and 23. So they're very lightweight decks, and they are a, I don't, would you call them a budget deck, or I consider it like a performance deck. Performance decks, they don't last long, but they perform really good. So we will weigh it, and I will let you know what it weighs. So this deck weighs 3 pounds, 15.5 ounces, so almost 4 pounds for this deck. I wish it was the 22 because I do like 22 better than 23. I've ridden 5.5s for a really long time, and it's time to go to a 6 and try it out. The other deck that Utah Pro Scooters had was the 5.5 by 22, and I did not want a 5.5 again. I wanted a 6. So I'm going with 23, and hopefully I like it. So we'll see. This deck is compatible with 120 by 30 millimeter wide wheels. It is not compatible with 12 standard wheels. Not very many decks out there are, but at least you can ride big wheels if you like big wheels. And one of the weird things that I find interesting about this deck is it's got 4 pegs on it. You got 2 in the back, and you got 2 in the front, which will help with the deck not caving in on the front, and it'll help with Smiths and nose blunts. I'm really excited to try nose blunts on this guy, just because they're super fun to do, and I feel like it will slide really good on this. And if you don't want to ride the pegs in the front, it actually has a bolt that goes through the head tube, so that way if you want to take them out, you can. These decks do cost $160, I believe, at least at Utah Pro Scooters. Maybe online at other shops they cost a little bit different. I've heard that they don't last very long, so I'm curious to see how long it actually lasts because I'm a big guy and I break decks quite a bit and quite easily. Let's get this guy gripped with some Twilight Scooters grip tape. Alright, now that we've got it all gripped up, we'll go ahead and throw the rest of the parts together and we'll do a little scooter check for you. Just because I'm riding a lot of different parts, and we'll go out and get a sesh and test it out. Grips are some full core prototype grips that I've been riding for a while. They've been holding up pretty good. Just starting to wear out, but pretty comfy and not a bad length at where they're at. Going to the bars, we have the AO V bars. I have a review on these if you want to check that out. I'll have it linked in the cards. I have cut them, so the standard is 28 by 24.5, and I have cut them to 27 by 22 wide, and I am enjoying them a lot more now. Coming on down, we have the Lucky SES. I think this is kind of an older SES, but it's not the best, but it holds pretty good actually. My only complaint on it is it has 5mm bolts instead of 6mm, which is kind of lame, but whatever. Proto headset, 100% recommend Proto headsets because they're a lot more simple than any other headset out there. The dust cap is the compression cap, or the crown race is what I call it, so it makes it a lot more simple. We have the Aztek Circa V2 fork. These were the teal ones or the blue ones, and I rod them out, and now they are just silver. We got the District Zodiac wheels, 110 by 24, and the brand new Lucid, Aztek Lucid deck, 6 by 23. I think these are technically the V2s, aren't they? I don't remember. With some Twilight grip tape and same wheel on the back. So that's the scoop. And so yeah, we'll go out to the park and get some clips. Parks and Rec is out here mowing the lawn, so don't mind the sound of lawnmowers. Alrighty, let's talk about this here Aztek Lucid deck. I'm wearing different clothes because it's a different day. I have ridden this deck a lot more since the clips that I got, so I do have a little bit more of a accurate representation of how it rides. All the clips that I got, anything that was grind related, didn't have wax on the deck at all. The only thing that had wax on it was the wax that was already on ledges. This thing slides pretty good straight off the bat without any wax. You know, any new deck out there isn't going to slide perfectly without a little bit of wax on the bottom of it. So starting off with the 84-degree head tube angle, it definitely feels a lot different, especially with riding a 23. It kind of makes my bars feel a little bit short. If you are a really tall person, or if you just like to ride tall bars, I feel like this deck would work really good for you because of the length of it. And with the 84-degree head tube angle, it kind of makes your bars feel a lot farther away from you than kind of more like in your lap, I guess, or like into your hip area. So that's really nice. It helps a lot for manuals. The 84-degree head tube angle and any deck that's just super long is going to help with manuals because you have a lot better of a manual radius. Because it's longer, you can kind of hold it a lot easier. The angle of the head tube, because it's more, I would say, flat, it gives you a lot more nose blunt space. Instead of having the head tube more straight up, it's more forward. So the head tube sits more forward than, it sits farther away from the deck than it would if it was more straight up. Think of like a district deck. Yeah, you're gonna be able to get into nose blunts very easily, whether you're doing stalls or slides. I have done a lot of nose blunts, as you can see on the front here. A lot of the aluminum is ground away from doing nose blunts. It slides pretty good straight off the bat doing nose blunts. I kind of did a couple of overcrooks. The pegs in the front definitely help with nose blunts, overcrooks, and definitely Smiths. I don't know if anybody out there they have maybe like an open end deck where there's nothing in the front. It's just kind of open, say like the proto decks. And you do a Smith and you just kind of feel like it just kind of digs into like the metal or the concrete or the wood or whatever you're grinding. This definitely just feels like it just slides right on top of it, and it's just really nice because the front of the deck and even the back of the deck, the metal of the deck, it kind of wraps around the deck ends or the pegs, so that way like the deck itself actually is rounded. And so that's another thing that I'll talk about is I really like all around the bottom of the deck, it's all round. Not like completely, but it's not like a square. It's definitely kind of beveled and nice and round. So it doesn't really matter what kind of grind that you're doing. It could be like 5.0s, feebles, Smiths, 50/50s, board slides. You're not gonna get hung up on doing stuff. It's gonna push right through it, and especially with like concrete, because concrete will grab sharp edges a lot easier than it would on something that's a lot more rounded. That makes it super nice for doing grinds if you like to do a lot of grinds out there. So the foot space on this deck is give or take about 17 inches, and what I mean by give or take is the brake is adjustable on here. The concave on this, I have complained a lot about concave on the Aztek decks. With the way that the deck is kind of rounded on the sides, it doesn't hurt my feet as much as the Siren V2 did, because the Siren V2 was a lot more of a sharp edge, like where the grip tape is. So if you landed with like the arch of your foot on it right there, it would hurt a lot more. So with it being kind of rounded on the sides like this, makes it not hurt as much. As for the axle system, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So you have the axle going on one side, and then you have like a nut go on the other side. And trying to hold the nut in place while the axle threads into the nut is kind of annoying, because once it grabs, it has a little spot in there that will hold the nut in place, and it'll, you know, screw in. When you take it out, the nut will kind of fall sideways, and so you have to try and either get like your pinky in there or like a big Allen wrench or something like that to kind of get it upright in the right position, and then kind of hold it and then tighten it back in with the axle. It kind of makes it kind of a pain in the ass. Once you kind of figure out how it works, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not like a game changer or like a make or break deal. It's just kind of something you have to figure out how to finesse it and get it in there. And one thing that I do have to say about this, when landing tricks, I don't know if it's just because I'm, you know, fat, a big guy, the deck does feel like it's kind of a softer aluminum. The sound of it, the way that like it grinds and stuff like that, it just feels a lot softer than other decks out there. So I can probably see why a lot of these break easy is because the aluminum feels a lot softer. I don't know if it's the same kind of aluminum that all decks are made out of. For some reason, doing grinds and landing and stuff like that, it almost kind of feels like it flexes a lot. This thing might be one of my new favorite decks out there. This thing just feels really good. I would probably ride it again in the future, but I would probably try and get a 22. That is my review for the Aztek Lucid deck. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit like if it helped you at all. If you've ridden this deck, let me know what you liked and didn't like about it in the comments. And until the next video, you have a good one.